I guess it was kind of my sophomore year when it kind of really struck me how kind of liberal, and with liberal anti-Israel, this kind of the whole Five College and the Pioneer Valley area was.
We, concerned people of Western Massachusetts, oppose the Israeli assault on the people of Gaza.
It's an interesting dynamic that you don't necessarily see at other schools or other regions because of the way that the schools not only are close to each other, but students take classes at the different campuses as well.
Being pro-Palestine right now, which I don't believe they're pro-Palestine. I believe I'm pro-Palestine, and I'm pro-Israel. They don't see that when they hear the word Zionist come out of my mouth and that I identify as a Zionist. But being pro-Palestine right now on college campuses, I think is kind of a new fad, especially on liberal campuses.
My sophomore year, there was a photo exhibit outside on the main lawn, and it was very anti-Israel. It was very bloody and emotionally disturbing.
It was for Palestinian Apartheid Week, and that was kind of a phrase that I'd never really encountered before, and it kind of seemed paradoxical to me. It didn't really make sense, and I was just really taken aback by that whole exhibit. I knew that I kind of had a decision when I saw that exhibit my sophomore year. I could, kind of just stick to myself, because at that time I didn't know who else kind of felt the way I did. I just assumed that that was how everyone felt, and so I was alone.
A couple of students somehow found each other that were all disturbed the same way, and we decided that we needed to do something about it, and we created a response the next week.
We decided that we need to voice an alternate opinion, an alternate voice on this campus, because if we weren't doing it, then no one would.
And we put our own exhibit up, and it was focused completely on facts. It didn't have any bloody pictures of people, because we could have done the same thing and put up bloody pictures of Israeli kids, but we didn't. We thought that the mature and logical way to approach it would be to respond with facts, and that's what we did.
And the thing is we knew that we couldn't be alone, and that other people did feel the way that we did, and if we created this space that showed that there is another side to this conflict, that we would draw in other people, because at that time that was the only opinion that was being represented.
And then last year I founded the Smith-Israel Alliance officially, and now we're an official org. Most of these people who speak about these issues on campuses aren't even familiar with Israel, in reality, have never stepped foot anywhere near Israel.
It was a great way for me to use my experience in Israel and everything that I learned living there, and to infuse that into my role as a campus leader for Israel activism.
So I saw them tabling with a big Israeli flag, and I was like, wow, and I felt this instant connection, and the first words told to me were in Hebrew, "Gam medaberet ivrit." It's oh, so nice to hear someone else speak Hebrew on this campus. And from that moment, I've come every lunch I've been informed to, because I just really feeling that connection on campus and really feeling almost at home. That's what we should feel in college. It's your home.
I'm impressed with my campus personally. This year, especially because we did Israel Peace Week for the first time this year, people have been really receptive to it. We gave out t-shirts for Gilad Shalit and Save a Child's Heart. But before we gave them out for free, we asked people to read about what each t-shirt represented and make a conscious decision of what they were doing and what they were wearing on their backs. And some people asked to donate money to the cause, and we got really emotional because we didn't ask for money, but a lot of people were oh yeah, I'll donate money for this, totally. And it was just overall pretty awesome.
I think that leadership and commitment to starting a pro-Israel group at Smith really resonated throughout the 5 colleges. And Danielle has in a way become a leader for other students interested in not only starting pro-Israel groups, but really revving up their leadership skills.
Oftentimes, people see things as a dichotomy. So Jewish and feminist, or Jewish Orthodox and feminist, or social activist and Jewish. People have people see those as dichotomies, very problematic. And you know, being a woman and a supporter of Israel, not necessarily what people here would think could be true, but breaking those barriers and saying like, definitely true, I stand for Israel, I'm walking around with a t-shirt that says I'm proud Israeli, like that's like, you know, that's awesome in my opinion, and that's what we do.
We got people who not only have experience in Israel, but people who just want to learn more about the experience, because what I found was people come and be like, I'm really glad that you guys exist, because a lot of the times all I hear is one side to the situation. I feel like I can't formulate my own opinion because that's all of the information that I'm receiving.
Hampshire has historically had a very active Students for Justice in Palestine, and because of that, a lot of students who align with Israel or feel like they're pro-Israel feel very alienated on campus, to the point where we've had a student transfer from Hampshire to UMass Amherst because she just wasn't comfortable being a pro-Israel student there.
SJP is probably the largest group on campus and the most active group. And during orientation and during HampFest, which is our like activities fair where all the groups come and, you know, set up their tables and pamphlets and flyers, and all the new students come and, you know, sign up and get on the mailing list. So they, you know, usually every group has one table. SJP had like 4 tables, just like a, you know, with a big sign that said support BDS or something. Anyways, they're very out there. You know, you can tell who they are. They're very active, they're very loud, they're very vocal. They sound good, and they present these facts that, you know, how can you not support them if they're throwing genocide and apartheid and all those words? So they look good, and I think that's why many students get involved with them.
There's also been a history of intimidation toward students who are loud about their support for Israel in any way.
There is this assumption of moral high ground. There's this assumption that if you love Israel, if you support Israel, you are morally defunct. And as such, you don't deserve to be treated with respect. And you don't deserve to be treated with humanity.
This year was a whole different level. A transfer student there, Lee Nisty, she was very interested in getting involved in Israel and Israel activism, and unfortunately she was the target of bullying from the certain members of the Students for Justice in Palestine group.
I was a victim of harassment. Walking home, I live on campus, and just I would, you know, come home at night from whatever event I was at or whatever friend's house I was at, and someone would yell, genocide supporter, Zionist pig, Zionist, racist, bitch, just on, like disgusting slogans. One time I was called racist bitch, and someone, you know, nudged me, and I didn't fall, but still, and, you know, it didn't hurt, but it was physical aggression. A day before I was supposed to meet with one of the deans, I received an email to my Hampshire email, which only Hampshire students and faculty have access to. And it was from Katie Smith, who is probably a made-up name, from the Gmail account, and it said, in all capitals, make the world a better place and die slow. And that, you know, that was following all that week of harassment. By this point, I had heard of many students that had either transferred or dropped Hampshire or, you know, had to be silenced because, you know, they didn't want to be active anymore because, you know, they just wanted to be passive because of things like this happening. You know, I have a friend that got his Israeli flag ripped off his door, or an Israeli map ripped off, or like an Am Yisrael Chai sticker, you know, taken off the car or something. So a lot of this harassment has happened before to pro-Israel or Zionist students, and it was really, really unfortunate that it was, you know, going to happen to this degree, like for me to get, you know, a death wish or death threat.
It was Danielle who first brought Sergeant Anthony to the Valley for the very first time. and who first got in contact with him.
Everyone in the 5 colleges, in the pro-Israel community in the 5 colleges, felt like he would be a really strong, charismatic speaker. They wanted someone who would draw a crowd, and even some controversy, I think, because, I mean, the Students for Justice in Palestine at Hampshire have said time and time again that they don't believe in dialogue. They weren't going to start off, with a weak event. So I think it was a really strong event. I think it was meant to kind of turn heads in a way.
I invited SJP cordially. I said, we'd love for you to come and listen, and there will be a question and answer session. So if you have any concerns, you're welcome to voice them. So I didn't get an answer, but believe me, they showed up.
It was kind of like a lobby outside of the actual entrance of the main lecture hall, where there was already big protest. So, I mean, over 100 people from SJP, from the communities, a Palestinian flag, there was an Israeli flag. Like, we had I made sure that UMass Hillel spread the word about the Benjamin Anthony event. We wanted as many Israel supporters there as possible because I knew it was going to be protested against. He was there to speak about his experience as an IDF soldier. He's an English man that made Aliyah. And he started speaking about his experience, and people were very, very disruptive.
Please give me the title of next week's Torah portion, madam.
It was chaos. They were not respectful. They did not come to be taught anything, to have any sort of dialogue.
Portion, madam.
I think at the end it just showed that the pro-Israel community does want peace, because we brought on this and we wanted to have a dialogue after, and they were saying there's no Palestinian voice in this dialogue, and there's no, it just, they came being anti-Israel. They didn't come being pro-Palestine. And he was there speaking, not all Palestinians are terrorists. I'm just going to talk about these situations. Someone asked, they had these signs with Palestinian children that died, and he kind of responded to that, being like, okay, that is legitimate. Palestinian people die in a war, and it's really sad. But please tell me a name of one Israeli child that has died. And no one could answer that. So it just kind of shows how biased they are. And he was there. He shared, names of Palestinian children that he has met that has died as well. And it was a very emotional event.
It actually gave the Students for Justice in Palestine a really negative reputation. They were, really hindering free speech. They were hindering this speaker who was coming to campus to be heard. They were silencing him, and they were silencing the students who brought him there. And I think that negatively affected their reputation on campus. In addition to, the harassment, which actually kind of drew a rift in the group. A lot of students were really upset that someone would treat one of their fellow students, regardless of her political views, in that way.
I want to share a story, a true story, sadly, a Massachusetts story. One of bravery and resolve.
I was able to introduce Leahy to Joanna Jacobson, who not only is one of our board members, but was also chairing the APAC dinner in Boston. And she was blown away by Leahy's story. She really felt for her, and she recognized, like we all do, what an amazing person she is to have stood up to this and become stronger from it. And she wanted to tell Leahy's story at the dinner.
I didn't know what her role was with the APAC dinner. I just knew she was speaking, and I thought she was just going to be oh yeah, Leahy Benisti was active at Hampshire, yay. I did not know what it was going to be like.
Not surprisingly, some of the unaffiliated students present were offended by the behavior of the protesters and went up to Leahy afterwards to tell her so. The students' reactions made Leahy realize she could make a difference. This is a shocking and sickening story. It is also inspiring. Inspiring because a young woman fearlessly and singularly chose to stand up for what is right. Inspiring because she was supported by the David Project, ADL, and the local Hillel, organization staffed with caring, smart, and supportive advocates, all committed that Jewish students on college campuses should have the training and the support they want and need to protect their First Amendment rights. Leahy describes feeling all alone at Hampshire College. I told her she is not alone. She is part of our community. She is a leader of our community. Leahy, please stand up so we can, as a community, recognize you for your heroic leadership.
The fact that she spent, I don't know how long speaking about me and, asked me to stand up. It was very emotional, but it was very surreal, and I'm just really, shocked. And it still, I guess hasn't hit me. When I talk to these organizations and they're like, oh, you're Leahy, I guess it's good for my future. Maybe I'll get a job.
After being, put down and bullied and feeling so low, that was such an incredible experience for her, and it was really wonderful to share that with her and share her story. I think it's really important that other people hear it and recognize basically how much she's come through and how well she's dealt with it, and now that she's going on to great things, researching Israel on campus and becoming a real campus leader.
Even though it was a really negative experience, it also kind of showed my passion in Israel advocacy, and I'm actually going to be writing my senior thesis on anti-Zionist expression on campus and free speech versus hate speech. So I think it's all helped, and I've gotten a lot of support.
You do have a choice. You could affiliate yourself with, an Israel organization if you are pro-Israel, or you could kind of just do your own thing and kind of not want to attach yourself to that identity, because I know it can be scary. And I know a lot of people on campus who, though they might be pro-Israel, they're like, oh, I don't really want to put my name to that kind of cause because of the repercussions that could come of it. So what I would encourage is, if they feel strongly about Israel and they feel strongly about advocating for Israel, to kind of take that leap and to learn more about how they can become active on campus with an Israel organization and how it will benefit them, even if it does seem scary and even if they do experience some hatred or animosity. Ultimately, they're going to learn so much about the situation, they're going to learn so much about themselves, and they're going to become such stronger human beings in general, I guess.